I am a first generation cheesemaker on my family's dairy farm. We have been, dairy farming is long in my blood and in my history, but cheesemaking is not. So I am the fortunate and the brave to start that on our farm. And we've been making cheese for over 6 years now. And I'm really looking forward to sharing my story. So our next cheese is the very first cheese that we started with at Redhead Creamery. It's our Lucky Linda. It's a clothbound cheddar. Linda is my mother, who was my assistant cheesemaker and vice president of Redhead Creamery. And I still remember when we first showed her or proposed to her the label for this cheese when we were first going to release it, and she was almost in tears and was like, "Are you sure?" So we it's fun to have cheeses named after people you love. So um, when we first got started, my struggle was, what cheese do I make? Because I had so many ideas uh, and just didn't know where to start. And so I asked several cheesemongers and buyers at specialty stores and to figure out what's missing in their case, and what from Minnesota would they like to see. And I was advised to make a Minnesota farmstead cheddar, which I was actually surprised because we are so close to Wisconsin, and didn't know that I agreed that there was much room for more cheddar in the case. But decided that if he was going to buy it, then I'll get some made. So I wanted to make it different and unique from what I had been seeing uh, in the area, and decided to make it a cloth bound cheddar. So it was a little more traditional. Being a first generation cheesemaker, you want to start something traditional. And so we do the cloth, and then it's also made with veal or animal rennet. So also using some traditional practices with it. Um, and also, what's unique, but I didn't realize at the time of first creating it, was that we actually go through the full cheddaring process of making this cheddar. There's a lot of cheddars out there that are stirred curd cheddars and don't go through the actual process of stacking slabs and getting that lactic acid to drop during that process. It's kind of a long, laborious process, but we didn't really know any other way. So our Lucky Linda is fully cheddared, and has to age for at least 6 months before we feel the flavor really comes out in the cheese. And it's it's called Lucky Linda for several reasons. One being that we are about 3 miles south of a little village called Padua, that's very Irish, uh, only because of its owners of the pub in town. The town or village is a church and a bar, and the church is now not fully a church anymore, but the bar is fully functioning and thriving. But they do an annual St. Patrick's Day festival every year, and we participate in their parade every year, which is, I don't know, maybe it ranges from 3 to 10 floats in the parade that goes up and down Main Street twice to make sure you really get your money's worth. And we throw green cheese curds out at the parade. So lucky St. Patrick's Day, my mom's favorite event of the year. So we had to name it Lucky Linda. She had all those four redheaded daughters too, so we tease her about that. But again, wanted to make something unique. The Lucky Linda is more of a English style cheddar. It's a little more savory. It's a little drier, and we just really like it. It's kind of a staple for us, and we usually pair it with uh, a deeper red wine. So I typically pair a lot of our cheeses with Minnesota specific wines, so I don't always have a great reference for something that would be more nationally known. But the Marquette wine is Minnesota specific, as the Marquette grape was created at the University of Minnesota and is a great cold hardy grape. But those two, the Lucky Linda and the Marquette wine, are like a match made in heaven. So something that we always suggest eating and drinking together.
Can you tell us about the formation of the rind?
Yeah, so you know, we created, they're 10-pound wheels that we make for the Lucky Linda and all of our cheddars, and we then wrap it in cloth, and then that cloth gets larded about 2 weeks into the aging process. And once that happens, we then put that wheel in our larger aging room, which is a cave-like environment. So it's about 53 degrees and probably ranging between 70 and 80% humidity, depending on the weather. I always joke that I talk like a farmer based on the weather, because my caves respond to the weather just like a farmer would be watching the weather for their fields and their crops. So our caves are underground, so they really fluctuate with the dry, cold winters and the really wet, warm summers. So we're constantly watching and playing with those rooms to keep our cheeses good and healthy. So we allow mold to grow on the outside of that cloth, and the mold growth is so cool to watch as it develops and it changes through time. In the spring, we'll have white, fluffy mold growing on the outside of the rind that will turn into a green, blue mold, and eventually turns kind of into a gray phase where the mold is kind of dying, and we brush those wheels off. That rind has started to really develop because from those molds and from having the cloth on there as well. And it's just really fun as an entrepreneur or the cheesemaker to see that change and develop. The rind is fully edible. A lot of people question whether you can eat the rind or not. And yeah, it's a natural part of the cheese.
That's so fun. You know, one of the first experiences that I had with artisan cheeses was a Cantal that was, you know, about 12 inches high, about 12 inches round. And it smelled like a cellar, like a
Yeah.
dirt cellar. Oh, it was just, I grew up in Iowa. And so, you know, having a root cellar, you can smell the earthiness of it. And it just so much earthiness came off it. So, you know, the first thing I did when I opened this was like, oh, this is so nice. You know, it's just got such that beautiful earthy smell to it. It's mild though. You know, it's a lot milder than I was anticipating. I thought it would be a little more sharper, but it's really, you know, you want something that has got a classic English style cheddar. And this is, you know, what you have. And a beautiful color on this. And this is all natural, right? No annatto added to this?
Correct.
Yeah. And so beautiful, that just shows how much butter is in this cheese and creaminess to it. So, you know, pairing it, you know, I thought it was, when you went Irish and all that. So I went with the Fat Toad Farm, which, you know, Vermont is
Yes.
there. And this is a goat's caramel. It's a goat's milk made caramel, but it's their Irish whiskey cream.
Good choice.
And, oh, you know, and so I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that. And then I'm using the tart cherry, cocoa nib, and almond artisan crisp, you know, with Rustic Bakery. And then I wanted to go with an Irish red, but you know, this cheddars typically for me are more of an IPA. So this is a local brewery, Cigar City, and this is the Tabaka. and it is a red IPA.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I thought, redhead, red IPA, and
Yes.
we got the Irish whiskey in there, and then of course the chewy crisp, which I just love. So putting those all together.
Do you ever have to cook, Michael? You have all these awesome sides that you probably have your pantry full of. It's the best part.
Mm. Even though like the Havarti, this doesn't need anything else to be a delicious cheese, but it's nice to be able to do something, create a board. And you were talking about earlier about fruit. I'm not against fruit, but I'm not for it. I'm not going to put fruit on a plate. There's a couple of reasons why. One is that then I have to worry about seasonality of it, and which is kind of cool though. When something's in season, then you want to use it fresh. It's kind of like you were talking about Crave's mozzarella. Having that in the summer with fresh tomatoes and fresh basil out of the garden. That's a good direction to go. But to force in a fruit just because you want to have a garnish on the side, like the grapes. I've never found a cheese that works well with grapes. And I'm sure it's kind of like the people that drink a Diet Coke with steak and chicken and everything, where you're going to eat the grape and you're going to like the grape for that, but it doesn't go with the cheese. So using spreads, just like the fig spread, going out and finding fresh figs right now would be challenging. So I don't have to do that. I just have to open up a container and I have fresh figs every single time. And when I'm done with it, I put it away. I don't have to worry about cutting it. And we talk about entertaining, and entertaining with cheese should be it should be fun. Should be you open up the cheese, you put a couple things out, and you're entertaining. You know,
Yes.
I always tell everybody, before your party, you spend hours of cleaning the house, and that's the hardest part, is because you don't want people to actually believe that you live there, because how clean everything is. Because we don't, we're not messy, but the point is that you spend more time getting ready for the party than you do actually enjoying your cheese. And I think this is such a beautiful cheese to work with. You've nailed this. It's just so nice, and such a great cave aged with that beautiful rind.
Thank you. Yeah, and the one you have now is fairly young for our Lucky Linda. We've been through a phase of figuring out how much do we make ahead and how long do we let it age before our cave is too full. Um, so we're in a phase this past year of really having a lot of young Lucky Linda. And as it ages up to 18 months, it gets almost more Parmesan-like, where it will get, it'll taste a little saltier and even more like butterscotch notes to it. And that's when I really enjoy having that cheese specifically. So thank you. I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah, it's exceptional. It really is a great cheese. And you're right about the Parmesan. There's some nice crystallization in here.
Thanks. I still remember when we saw our first crystals in our cheese, and my mom and I did a little dance in the kitchen. So we I've always loved aged Goudas and other cheeses where those crystals would just naturally show up, and never thought we would see that in our own cheese. So little moments of cheesemaker celebrating.
Can you talk a little bit more about that special crystallization?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's the tyrosine crystal that shows up in typically in aged cheese. Um, there's all sorts of information out there about how they form and why they form, and there are cultures now you can use to encourage it to form, that I'm still learning about a little bit, but even just 2 years ago, that was new to us. So when those crystals naturally show up in your cheese and they form, that was something that you looked forward to as a cheesemaker. because it shows a good quality, fun cheese, and we've really marveled we continue to marvel over longtime cheesemakers and what they're able to do. So feeling like we're falling into that category is still kind of surreal for us.